There are some ghastly images in America this week. New York City has had to hire contract laborers to bury the dead in its Potter's Field on Hart Island in New York. The city's daily death rate from coronavirus has reached grim new records. And it's just been like hell. It's been a war zone in New York. Thankfully, the state of New York and the city are seeing sharp drops in the numbers of people newly admitted to the hospital in the last 24 hours. But the number of deaths increased by 799 yesterday. That's a record high for a third day. Around over 7,000 people have died in New York. That's of the total in America of nearly 17,000, 16,703 deaths in America. Around the world, 97,000 deaths. And, a lot of people instinctively kind of go to that flu comparison. And I get it. I mean, it was 2017, 2018, we had around 60,000 deaths from the flu. And there was not a gripping panic that enveloped the country the way we have seen in 2020. I'm very philosophical. I just have a bit of a more calm approach, I think, than I usually would. And I just feel different these days. We all do. We all are going through something, with a loved one or, not having a job, worrying about your unemployment. Is your job going to come back? There's so many life changing decisions that are on the table. And I just have a philosophical point of view. Somebody called me and said, well, do you know that in 2017, I get it. Do you know how many car accidents there are? How many, blah, blah, blah. Nothing's going to change. You can't rewind the past. We can't erase what we've done. We will talk about this forever. We'll scrutinize the decisions that were made. And ultimately, here's the rub. We're never going to know. I don't care what anybody says. We're never going to know what would have happened had we not shut the economy and the country down and isolated the way we have. The vast majority of Americans are in their homes. Most people are not intermingling with other people in crowds. Now, there are people who are, and so be it. But for those who are looking back and saying, and I use that in that image of the grumpy old man shaking his fist at the rain. I mean, it's happened. We're here. We're in it. We're in it. It is a highly contagious virus, and I trust the leadership of this country. I happen to trust the coronavirus experts, the scientists, the doctors, and yes, the president, who is absorbing all this information, taking it in, and making very difficult decisions. We're going to be facing some of the most horrendously difficult decisions, because now the question is, how do we get back? And what does that look like? I've been asking that all week. We don't often work on Good Friday, but times are different. This is I think, a holy, spiritual time. We are on Good Friday, of course. We remember and we keep in our hearts for if you're Christian, you know that this is the day that is commemorated by the death of our Savior. Those Stand With Israel trips, I'm so blessed to have been at Golgotha, the site where Christ was crucified. It's a little jarring right now because there's a parking lot there, believe it or not. There's some cliffs where it is believed that near the spot, or maybe the spot where Christ was hung on the cross. But there's right below it, it's jarring. It's a parking lot with a bunch of buses. It's like a place where all the buses gather, and it's just it's very, very holy, and people are there with great reverence. And there's this real weird juxtaposition of, 21st century America, a bunch of buses parked there and idling, and it's kind of odd. But, I think We all understand that life goes on, and you got to have buses and cars and roads, and even in a holy place like Jerusalem. Incidentally, we're going to go back to Israel next year. This thing will be well behind us next year, and Dennis Prager and I are going to take another group of listeners. You might want to start thinking about planning the Stand With Israel Tour 2021. So more on that at some point. But we're so glad you're here today. And again, we are live on Good Friday. A couple of text messages. Oh, are you here? Are you? Yep, we're here. 1-800-655-MIKE, because I'd love to be with you and kind of fellowship with you on this holiest of days, holiest of weeks. And as I said yesterday, to me, this is a metaphor. Yes, we are at the height, the apex of the death, the despair, the sorrow, the fear. I saw images last night of cars in San Diego lined up, it seemed, for miles to get a box of food. I saw people lined up 6 feet apart from each other, lined up. I think it might have been in Houston, to get food, just to get a sandwich for their kids, a bag of chips. People are struggling. People are suffering. People are anxious. But like Christ rising from the dead Sunday, there will be a resurrection in America. There will be a rebound. We will be soaring again. This will be remembered forever, but may we never, never go through this again. Incidentally, news out of Louisiana, a lawmaker there dying of coronavirus from COVID-19. New Orleans in particular, Mardi Gras hit so hard. Everybody sort of on top of each other, celebrating and enjoying the festivities of Mardi Gras. And again, New Orleans, one of those terrible, terrible hot spots. And a Louisiana lawmaker has passed away from the effects of the virus. Reggie Bagala dying of COVID-19 in the state of Louisiana. Good news from the UK. Boris Johnson is getting better. He didn't have to go on a ventilator. He was in ICU. There are good stories to share.